Mr. President, tonight I rise to speak about the housing crisis afflicting Australia and in particular New South Wales. It's exceptionally difficult for people to save to buy a home or to find and afford a rental property. Across Australia, the cost of housing has outpaced wage growth and rental vacancies are at all-time lows. Since the year 2000, house price increases have continually raced ahead of wage growth. During this period, house prices grew 363%, while household incomes only increased by 152%. This is a deviation from the prior 30 years of the house price changes, which were largely in step with growth in incomes. The true extent of the crisis has been most acutely seen in Sydney. For the last 15 years, Sydney is continually placed in the top 3 most unaffordable cities on earth, according to research by Demographia, which analyses global housing affordability. Housing is more expensive in Sydney than in many other global cities such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, Vancouver and Tokyo. The latest ABS data on housing prices reveals the median house price in Sydney is currently $1.4 million, the highest in the country and 72% or $580,000 higher than it is in Melbourne. This crisis is decades in the making and not easily fixed. Long-term Liberal national governments on a federal and state level have left the housing market in freefall. Young and working people have been systematically excluded from entering the property market, and many are struggling desperately to afford soaring rents. The federal government controls many of the key policy settings needed to fix these issues. Take, for example, the capital gains tax concession, introduced by the Howard government in 2000. This and other tax settings, such as negative gearing, distort the housing market such that a wealthy minority of investors, rather than mum and dad investors or owner-occupiers, are the primary consumers and beneficiaries in it. Treasury estimates that in the 23-24 financial year, the Commonwealth will forgo $19 billion in revenue due to the capital gains tax discount. 80%, or $15.6 billion of this, will go to the wealthiest 10% of taxpayers. These funds could instead be put towards the public good, such as the provision of housing. The Albanese government's help to buy and build to rent proposals are a good start. It is clear, however, that the scale and urgency of the housing crisis require more significant investment by government to resolve it. Nothing should be off the table, including tax reforms. In New South Wales, I commend the announcement today by Minister Rose Jackson for the development of 1,100 new homes in this state, as well as other steps that the Minns Labor government is taking to increase the supply of housing across the state. It is my view, however, that such measures do not go far enough in fixing the housing crisis we face in this city and this state. There's much more to do. It's clear that we need many thousands of new homes to be built as soon as possible. Further, we must drastically increase both the amount and the proportion of social and affordable housing as part of new builds. It's obvious that leaving the provision of housing to the private market has failed. There are few other essential human rights, such as healthcare, which we leave up to the vagaries of a supply and demand system. Instead, we provide such services directly or make sure they're available to the most vulnerable people through other means. In my view, housing should be no different. More direct intervention in the housing market is needed to ensure all those in New South Wales have a place to live and that buying a home is again an achievable goal for the ordinary young Australian.
Thank you.